Good morning. I hope everybody is well. As always, thank you for your continued support of the channel. Liking and subscribing is a big help in so many ways. And please keep commenting. You add so much to the conversation. I read and appreciate them all. So to Mercury, specifically stereo Mercury Living Presence vinyl originals. I'm not sure why, but I'm late to the wonders of Mercury. Sure, I'd heard some and had a couple in the permanent collection, but as you'll see in the show and tell, primarily top-class reissues of some of the greatest Mercury titles, but originals, no. Stupidly, Mercury always seemed to be an afterthought, especially in the past 10 years with record pricing insanity. Plus, there always seemed to be far more near-mint EMIs, Deccas, and RCA living stereos available for better pricing. Also, Mercury vinyl quality could be indifferent compared with the EMI and Decca pressings. Getting a near-mint Mercury Indianapolis first pressing took time, patience, and money. Mercury, at least in the incarnation we're talking about, is from the labor of two very special people, a married couple, C. Robert Fine and his wife Wilma Cozart Fine. Bob Fine was the engineering mind behind all the great recordings and Wilma the producer. Their Living Presence catalog began in mono in 1951, which continued to 1955, when the 3-mic stereo releases overtook the mono and continued until 1967. 300 titles in all. As mentioned, we'll be discussing the stereo releases only. Famously, the Fines transported their recording equipment in a van, a Chevy van, stuffed with tapes and gear. This van even traveled to Moscow for some famous recordings. For Mercury stereo recordings, Bob and Wilma favored a 3-mic approach, left channel, right channel, and a center helper fill mic, then mixed down to stereo. They eventually found enough of the rare Schoeps M201 mics to use for primaries and backups. These were hung 12 feet above the conductor's head. The orchestra's placement was hall-dependent. For example, the famous Mercury's in Watford Town Hall had the orchestra on the stage playing out into the hall with the mics hanging from the top front of the stage. Same for the Detroit Symphony in their new Ford Auditorium, Old Orchestra Hall, and the now demolished Cass Technical High School Auditorium. The Fines used a Westrux cutterhead on a Scully lathe, which was fed by modified Macintosh 200-watt tube amplifiers. By 1967, the era was over. Bob Fine died in 1982 and Wilma in 2009. An incredible team with some of the greatest recordings ever released, true masterpieces of the golden era. The records I'll be showing are all from RCA's Indianapolis pressing plant. This pretty well assures quality vinyl. The orchestras connected to Mercury included Minneapolis, Detroit, Eastman Rochester, and the London Symphony, among others. Conductors such as Paul Perret, Antal Dorati, Howard Hanson, and Frederick Vanell for Mercury's famous band records with the Eastman Wind Ensemble. So let's get to the good stuff. So let's have some fun with to buy records, reissues, and then finally all the originals in my collection. I'm searching for two specific records. The Dorati Minneapolis Eroica, Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, Eroica, from 1959, recorded in Northrop Auditorium in the University of Minnesota. An absolute knockout performance. When I first streamed it, I was thinking, oh, this will be good. Boy, but Dorati's really making a comeback. His records are really getting a lot of play. And this is a wonderful Eroica, played beautifully by the Minneapolis Symphony. And the second record I'm looking for, trying to get it in good condition, it's pretty difficult. They're very, very expensive, is the Howard Hanson Symphony No. 2, The Romantic, from 1958, recorded in the Eastman Theater. So I'm looking out for those two. So now let's get to the reissues. I've only got three classic records, all done by Bernie Grunman, all in 1997. The first one is the very famous Prokofiev Love for Three Oranges, SR 90006. Just a spectacular performance. Also the Scythian Suite. We've talked about this lots. This is with Antal Dorati and the LSO from Watford Town Hall. And it's just a miraculous record. Beautifully played, power and subtlety and gorgeous timbres and the most amazing soundstage with those three microphones that the Fines used. And from Watford Town Hall, just magnificent. Harry Pearson on his list, the task list, super list, thought at one time this was the world's greatest recording. He's not far wrong. It's absolutely magnificent. The classic reissue is wonderful. Beautiful vinyl, of course, flat, lovely, 1997. Bernie Grunman, basically a masterpiece by Bernie Grunman. He doesn't stick his nose in too much, just makes it beautiful. The dynamics are incredible. Highly recommended. Talked about this one a lot. It's one of my favorite records, if not my favorite. Also from 1997, classic records reissue with Bernie Grunman. This is SR 90226 from Watford Town Hall. Antal Doretti again, getting the LSO, who had just made some significant hires, but in the late 50s, playing out of their skins. It's absolutely remarkable in every way. Highly recommended. It's got the famous Chagall on the front. Beautiful, beautiful record. Everything reissued by Classic is beautiful and accurate. And my last reissue is the also Classic Records from 1997, is the Paul Paray Detroit Symphony, École by Hébert. Not one of my favorite pieces, but a wonderful Rhapsody Espagnole, La Valse, Pavane, and Alvarado del Gracioso by Ravel. This is SR 90313. Spectacular in every way. Paul Paray was a fantastic conductor. Really wonderful. Put Detroit on the map. And interestingly enough, Doretti later reimagined them on the map with his Decca recordings. And they're now having another kind of Indian summer, just beautiful, playing and doing live shows on YouTube. You should catch them. Go to the DetroitSymphony.org, I think it is. It's wonderful. Anyway, they sound fantastic on this. And this originally is a 1963, recorded in the Cass Technical High School Auditorium. Very beautiful looking auditorium, which has now been demolished, unfortunately. Highly recommended. Not cheap now on Discogs. Now to my originals. This is SR 90049. This was done in 1958. This is an original from the Eastman Theater. This is the very interesting music by Freddie Grofe, the Grand Canyon Suite and the Mississippi Suite, with the Eastman Rochester Orchestra, conducted by Howard Hassan. And the Eastman Rochester Orchestra was basically the Rochester Philharmonic with some guest stars on the Eastman School, the Star students, of which there are many at that school. It's a very fine school. Anyway, this is absolutely magnificent performance of Grand Canyon Suite. Don't think of this as light music. It's beautifully descriptive. The orchestra plays the hell out of it. It's some of the thunderclaps that Grofe puts in, the timpani and pianos and things. It's tremendous. Scare the hell out of you, so be careful. And wonderful in every way. Very, very highly recommended, as all these are, because I spent quite a bit of money on getting these near mint. I searched long and hard for a near mint copy of this one. I didn't get it. I got a VG Plus, and it's good enough. It's a wonderful performance of 1812, the famous one with the cannons put in from West Point. I recorded originally the orchestra in Northrop Auditorium, which is in part of University of Minnesota. This is the Minneapolis Symphony with Doretti. And this is SR 90054. There we go. And it's incredibly dynamic. It was originally recorded in mono in 1954. Then they wanted to get the full effect, so they redid it in stereo. And this is 1958. And it's so beautifully played. And the Capriccio Italian is another nice performance. The Minneapolis Symphony sounds so good. There's all the bronze cannons at West Point, the bells of the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial Carry-On at the Riverside Church, which is what my son calls the Bat Church. If you go to the Riverside Church in New York and have a look at the top of the church from the distance, it looks like Batman. Anyway, and there's quite a long spoken commentary by Deems Taylor. He's got an incredible speaking voice about how they recorded it. Highly recommended. Also, be very careful, even though it's 1958, the recording has got some real power. Watch your tweeters and your woofers. I needed a good Schumann set, so hey, what the heck? Going to get the Mercury. These are the Paul Paret Schumann symphonies. This is Symphony Number 2, marvelous work by Schumann. And no matter what they say, it's beautifully orchestrated. Just listen to the scherzo, it's gorgeous. This is SR 90102, recorded in 1960 in Orchestra Hall, the old Orchestra Hall I showed earlier in the video. Now the new Orchestra Hall, all been refurbished, took 20 years to refurbish. It's a beautiful space. Now being really modernized, the whole area is being gentrified. Anyway, that is wonderful. His Schumann, I've got 3 of them. Interesting, he didn't do the 4th in stereo, only in mono, so I wanted to get a stereo one. So that's coming. I'll show that at a later date. Different conductor, different orchestra, different continent. But this is wonderful. Again, near mint, Indianapolis pressings. Highly recommended. This one was recorded a year earlier. This is SR 90133. There it is right there. This is recorded in 1959 in the Ford Auditorium, that new auditorium they had, which had pretty bad acoustics, but the Fines could record anyway and make it sound beautiful. And this certainly does. A great Rhenish symphony by Schumann, again with Paul Paret and the Detroit Symphony. And there's the beautiful plum or maroon, depending on where you're from, I guess. I always just call it the plum label. He's fantastic for Schumann. He gets the inner lines and it can be thickly scored if you know Schumann, especially the Rhenish. This is an interesting record. I got this just because of the repertoire. This is SR 90147, recorded in 1960 in the Eastman Theatre. 3 interesting pieces by all Eastman trained composers: Kent Kennan, Bernard Rogers, and William Bergsma. Bergsma became the professor at Juilliard, and Kent Kennan a long time at University of Texas in Austin. I played a bit of Kent Kennan. His Night Soliloquy for flute is very beautiful. But these pieces are very interesting, very dynamic. The orchestra sounds wonderful. The Eastman Rochester Orchestra. And there's the plum label. Gorgeous. This is the one that started my journey back on the Mercurys. I found this in a bin somewhere, and it was really in bad shape. So I ordered a good one on eBay. It was quite expensive. This is SR 90149. And it's got wonderful Charles Ives repertoire, 3 places in New England, and his Symphony Number 3, which all of it is lovely, melodic. Charles Ives, not at his crazy best. He was some pretty crazy music. But wonderful, and Hanson and the Eastman Rochester Orchestra are wonderful in it. The recording is perfect from the Eastman Theatre. And this was recorded in 1957. If you can get that, it took me a while to get a near mint copy. And you need it near mint. The VG copy I had was, it's kind of wrecked, and it ruins it. A lot of very quiet, beautiful parts of 3 places in New England and the Symphony Number 3. So you want a nice, quiet surface. This is a Crackerjack Spring Symphony by Schumann. Beautiful orchestral parts for every instrument. Beautiful flute part. Also includes the Manfred Overture with Paul Paret and the Detroit Symphony in the Ford Auditorium. This is SR 90198. And this was recorded in 1959. Just a beautiful performance. Crackerjack ensemble, beautifully orchestrated piece, and conducted with style by Paret. He's a fantastic conductor. So that's 3 of his Schumann. Very highly recommended, all 3 of them. And finally, SR 90263 from Mr. Pearson's TAS Superlist. This is Morton Gould, Fall River Legends, Ballet Suite Spirituals. Just a fantastic record. Great music. I love Morton Gould. I played a lot of his music. Fine composer. This is with the Eastman Rochester Orchestra with Howard Hanson. And this was recorded in 1960. Nowhere does it say where it was recorded. I've looked everywhere. I'm assuming it was the Eastman Theatre. Plum. This one is not cheap on eBay, because, of course, Mr. Pearson anointed it, which means the price is going to go up. But really wonderful. Interesting cover, but it's a fantastic record. Highly recommended. So there you go. The Mercurys are a big part of my listening life now. I'm going to get those 2 that I'm looking for. The Minneapolis Eroica and the Hanson Symphony Number 2. We'll see if we can find them in near mint condition somewhere. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video and learned a little bit about Mercury. And if you're not into Mercury, I hope you get into it. They're tremendous recordings. Talk about a golden era. Really enjoyed bringing this to you today. And if you enjoyed it, please give a like and a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.